What is up, everybody? This might sound a little different because John is in Spain because we've got the London game this week. So we're going international with the national pastime pod. So this is intern Jrob and Toaster here today, holding down the fort out in the States, while John is out in Spain living the life. How you doing today, Toaster?
It's the international pastime now, right?
There you go.
No, I'm happy that we're getting a legitimate footprint in Europe right now. That's what NFL Network's trying to do. Maybe we get bought out soon too. DirecTV Sunday Ticket I know is up for sale. This podcast, I will say, for the right amount of money, you can have this talent.
Yeah, it would be a tough sell, but we're willing to negotiate for
Yeah,
any compensation, any big buyouts.
exactly.
Speaking of buyouts, I did not have a payout this week for my parlays, going 2-2, and I believe all three of us went 2-2 in the primetime parlays, on games that weren't really expected to go the way they went. So we'll start with the main ones, or start with the primetime games. Steelers Browns. Browns kind of handled this one, though it was kind of close in the end. But any takeaways from this, or is this kind of just Browns are waiting for Deshaun and the Steelers
This
do
is
they have an
looking
identity?
this is looking like Mike Tomlin finally falling below 500 as a coach. I think that there was a reason they extended him in the offseason, that they knew that this was going to be a tough transition. And watching that offense, it took everything in my soul to not say just throw Kenny Pickett in there, and you can't go worse than this, right? And I'm not saying
True.
Trubisky had a terrible game, but you understand your ceiling with Trubisky. Get Pickett some games. The problem with the Steelers right now is their schedule gets nasty after this. If they're not going to put in Pickett this week against the Jets, it goes Bills, Bucks, Dolphins, Eagles, Saints, Bengals, Colts. You're not touching him
Ooh.
until your bye week after the Eagles at the very least. So for me, Steelers don't have any identity without J.J. Watt. This meant nothing to me for the Browns. I think the NFL threw the Browns a softball schedule for the first 6 games, knowing that Deshaun was going to be suspended at least that. But Jacoby's holding up the fort just fine. Or
Yeah.
I guess you got to give credit to Chubb, right? Chubb's really the one that's carrying the load here.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, yeah, the Browns run game did what they needed to do. Brissett is playing probably better than I was expecting him to play. But yeah, both teams just feel uninspired for different reasons for me. Like,
this
do you think they'll play Pickett through this grindhouse of a schedule, or do you think Tomlin's looking at the schedule and thinks, we'll let Trubisky kind of take some bruises before we throw Pickett in there?
I mean, there's nothing from the Steelers offense that says that throwing Pickett in is going to change the outcome in the win-loss column at this point, especially with J.J. Watt on the sideline. Until they think that they're going to win more games than they lose substantially with Pickett
Mm-hmm.
over Trubisky, I say you let Pickett understand what getting rocked in the NFL is from the sideline, and let him learn a little bit more, and just keep throwing Trubisky's career under the bus, unfortunately. One thing I was looking forward to after this week was with Brissett getting the win on Thursday. I was excited that this was going to be, in unofficial statistic, the first time in the history of the NFL, just to go exorbitant on this, that the quarterback drafted by the same team, 4 quarterbacks drafted by the same team, won a game in the same week. I was going for
Oh
Jacoby
shit!
Brissett against the Steelers. I was going for Mac Jones against the Ravens, Tom Brady against the Packers, and then Jimmy G against the Broncos. So I was on a heater there for that first game, and that kind of fell through. I'm sure we can get to the rest of the games here shortly.
You're like, it's working perfectly, and you're like, no. Oh
Uh,
man.
they
Well,
fell into my trap.
speaking of traps and jinxes and everything in between, and another identityless team, the Niners and the Broncos on Sunday night. I'm going to let you start because I don't know how I feel about both teams, because I was high on both teams going into the year, and I have zero confidence in both teams right now that do you have faith in either of these teams? How do you feel about this game?
If the 49ers didn't lose Trent Williams, I would still be okay with the 49ers. To
That
me,
was
it
big.
seems like both of these teams are running away from their problems. Jimmy Garoppolo's straight trying to run out of the end zone to avoid his own problems.
Oh man.
To me, the biggest takeaway here is the 49ers are going to take a little bit of time because they didn't give Jimmy G a single damn rep in the offseason. Can you imagine? This is like trading somebody before week one. This reminds me of like when Teddy Bridgewater went down for the Vikings, and they just ship off was it Stafford at the time, or sorry, not Stafford, um,
Bradford? No.
Bradford at the time. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're just like, this is a desperation play, and it went miserably for a little bit there. It's because you're not learning a new offense for Jimmy G, but you have zero reps, zero connection. It's been a surgery removed from even throwing to Ayuk, to Debo Samuel, to George Kittle. It's going to take a little bit of time, but damn, I did not expect it to look quite this bad. To me, the Broncos still look worse, though. Like,
Yeah.
letting Russ cook. I was expecting Russ to come in like a damn cooking show where, you're like, okay, here's your ingredients. And then, oh, shit, look what we already have in the oven. This thing's been baking for 45 minutes and it's ready to go. This is how we
Right.
do our show. And instead, it's like we're legit sitting there for 45 minutes watching the souffle rise or something like that because it was damn near awful. He didn't push it downfield at all until they were completely desperate to do so.
Yep.
And I giving Melvin Gordon as many touches as he did with the two fumbles was kind of shocking to me over Javonte Williams. I I've heard rumors that Hackett wanted to go for it on a fourth down in his own territory and had to be basically talked out of it by his own by his own coaching staff. Like
I believe it because they had to call a timeout over it.
there looks like there's some issues on the Broncos side of things, and I would
Yeah.
be more concerned for the Broncos than I would be for the 49ers right now.
And I'm in the same boat as you. Add to the shit show that is Nathaniel Hackett right now. They hired it was like a former coach to do in-game operation like coaching. Basically, he hired a coach to coach him on how to coach. So
It's it's like a holdback coach in college, except one that actually like is
but it's like,
analytical
how
and
do I
tells you
do
what to
this?
do instead of just grabbing you by the ass band. Okay.
Yeah, and it's like it makes me worry, being like, what kind of hand holding were you getting in Green Bay? That or
Well,
like, I mean, you know how to sell yourself, I guess, but
Well, yeah, it's like it's what I've said about Mike McCarthy, and we'll get to that game eventually. But it's like if you're not in charge of game management, offense or defense, then what the fuck are you in charge of, right? Like
yeah,
if Nathaniel Hackett can't hack it as anything more than a play caller, offensive coordinator, then why the fuck are you not just the OC?
yeah. And even
So
then, it's like, what do you call, like, if you're going to run the OC, like, there are plenty of coaches that show they can run circles around other teams with offensive calling, that it is concerning. And my biggest takeaway is this is probably the closest it's felt. I can't believe I'm saying this about Russell Wilson. This is the closest it's felt to Tebow time, where 80% of the game is just utter dog shit. The defense oh my God, my throat. The defense keeps you in a game for 3 quarters with turnovers, with ball luck, like you name it. And then, like you said, you turn it on when it's like, oh shit, like we need a touchdown or we need a drive. And they put it together. And then it ends up being more about his brand, what's going on with him before and after the game versus having a good game. That, yeah, I don't feel good about the Broncos at all. And the fact that they got this win is good, but they were losing this game with that. If Trent Williams didn't get hurt, they weren't winning this game.
yeah,
So
and they, I mean, there were just errors all around, and that's stuff you would expect from a first time coach potentially, but the Broncos can't afford to make these types of mistakes, and they are lucky to pull out a 1 point victory in this game, which straight up became because Jimmy G ran out of the end zone. I get McManus missed a field goal, which would have made it a little different, but quite frankly, it probably is better that the 49ers fumbled where they did because it made it that much harder for them to come back, putting everything on Jimmy G's shoulders, right? Instead of just
yeah,
saying, all right, kick a field goal and have the Broncos have to come back from a 2-score deficit. So I just neither team inspired me. But Russ just doesn't look like the whatever you want to call him, because guaranteed money versus actual contract money is so different. But
Yeah.
at the very least, $150 million guaranteed man. I actually love the Tebow analogy, because it's kind of a rah rah, here we go type of thing versus a actually execute. It's just like,
Yeah.
praise
like,
be,
dude,
it'll all work out. And so far, somehow, some way, it has worked out that they're 2-1. They're tied for the top, the lead in the AFC West with the Chiefs, and what we thought was going to be a super competitive AFC West, which I still believe it will be, is now
Yeah.
led by 2-2-1 teams, a 1-2 team, and an 0-3 team.
Yeah. I did not think the AFC West was going to shake out like this to start. And while I'm happy to see the Broncos on top for now, it's definitely one of those like I honestly put them at the level of the Bears being 2-1. And I know that's throwing shade at the Bears a little bit, but like,
Oh, this is the time to do it. Daddy's asleep right now.
get it in while we can.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I feel like Denver's that team in the AFCs where it's like, oh, they're 2-1, but like, are you scared of them? No, like not at all.
I mean, they scored? They haven't even scored 16 points in a game this year, right? Like the offense has been absolutely miserable. It's the defense carrying them completely.
Defense has been carrying. I think they got 19 against Houston. I think
they got 16 against the Seahawks, 16 against Houston.
Oh my
and
God.
11 against the 49ers. So yeah, three two-score games basically, if you want to give them 2-point conversions to get them to 16. So not something that you're going to be able to compete with most likely against the Raiders, even though with what the Raiders D is doing right now, as long as you can come out hot, you're probably standing a chance. We can get to that one later. But then you got Colts, Chargers, even the Jets have been putting up some points.
Yeah, they're frisky.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do, the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, if they're still in it.
Oh yeah, I don't think they will be, and I don't feel good about it. And I guess to segue into other teams that no one ever feels good about, the Cowboys and Giants on Monday night. Another NFC East showdown on Monday night, which people wish would go away. Yeah, I guess what's your takeaway here is Cooper Rush the guy?
It brings in the Bucks, not like the Tampa Bay Bucks. Good luck Tampa this weekend. Is Cooper Rush the guy? In a way, yes. It, to me, is about playing within the offense and not forcing things. And I think Cooper Rush is doing that much better than Dak has. Dak has felt like he needs to be the superhero, the guy, put it all on my back, put it all on my shoulders, and just Cooper Rush being able to play free and saying, I'm going to do just damn enough. Let my actual playmakers take care of me here. It's kind of freeing, and it's an interesting strategy. I mean, you throw out like a Kirk Cousins over the last couple of years, right? And is he spectacular? By no means is he spectacular, but is he consistent? Yes, he sucks in primetime. But like, does he do what you expect? Can he hit things on time? It's why Mac Jones was successful last year, quite frankly. And again, we'll talk about the sadness that is Mac Jones right now. But he played within himself. He played within the offense, and it's about timing and execution, and Cooper Rush is doing that way better than Dak Prescott had been for the past 6 or 7 games if you throw in the end of last year.
Okay. I like it. I mean, is it enough to be a quarterback competition when he gets back?
Fuck no.
Or is Jerry just being like, I'm fucking Jerry Jones?
We don't talk about fantasy football here because it's quite frankly not important, but I will throw the one caveat out there that I drafted Ezekiel Elliott not because I thought Ezekiel Elliott was even the best running back on his team, but because Jerry Jones is just so involved in the situation that he's going to make it look like he made good decisions. So who's going to get the goal line carry? It's going to be Zeke Elliott. Who's going to get the ball at the quarterback position when both are healthy? It's going to be Dak Prescott. You don't pay a dude the $40 million a year to say, hey, guess what? We found your successor, even though that's exactly how Dak got his job against Tony Romo, right?
Oh, yeah.
I still contend that Tony would have done better in the playoffs than Dak would have that year, but Jerry was so stubborn, saying, "Look what I fucking
I
stumbled
made that
across."
decision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fourth round draft pick, saw his talent, an SEC quarterback, knew what was going to happen. He went what 13-0 in his to start his career,
Yeah.
and so it's
Behind the
just like
best offensive line in football and the strongest
right.
run game
Exactly.
in
And
the
it's
game.
just like, so is that Tony or is that Dak that's getting you there? No, but it's
Yeah.
again about saying Dak was playing within himself at that point and he wasn't expected to be the superhero. You take that level of burden off of these people when you say it doesn't have to be all about you, bro. You can let the
Yeah.
team do what you need to do. And then Jerry is the antithesis of that, which is guess what? I made these decisions for this team. Zeke Elliott's going to get the ball. Dak Prescott's going to get the ball. Shit, I might trade for Amari Cooper to get him back in here because he's playing well again right now, and maybe we can
Right.
get him on a discounted contract. I mean, shit, he's Dr. Jerry Jones. The number of times he's talked about Michael Gallup is absolutely insane. Shut up. Let your team do what they're going to do. Full disclosure, I also drafted Michael Gallup because I think they're going to force feed him the fucking ball. But let's get to the Giants. I thought they were frauds at 2-0. Are they even more frauds now after losing to the Cooper Rushes?
Probably. Yeah, I think they surprised Tennessee in week 1. I don't even remember who they beat in week 2. Yeah, I think this was just like
They beat the Panthers in week 2.
yeah, another team that's just like I don't even think they know what they want and what they're doing. That I mean, the fact that they never extended or exercised Daniel Jones's 5th-year option means they're already they're already done with him,
Yeah.
and so I'm sure they're just like, hey, go out there and play football, and if we win games, cool, it builds up the culture, and if we lose, we're gonna draft your replacement. Uh, I was expecting more from Saquon. I mean, even with Dallas being a decent front 8, aka just Micah Parsons being a game wrecker, I thought. I guess it's like I don't even know if is Saquon even that good. Like, do we just assume because he's such a freak athlete that he should be good, or is he kind of what he is only going to be, and that's a guy that gets 15 touches and is a better version of
The
Trent
problem to
Richardson?
me is that offensive line just leaves so much to be desired. Like Daniel Jones, quite frankly, from what I saw last night, played amazing for the amount of pressure that he was under, for the lack of options that he had, the drops by Kenny Galladay on third down, like everything that you've done to surround them with stuff. Evan Neal got beat multiple times, had false start penalties. It was a dumpster fire on that offensive side of the ball, and Daniel Jones held his own. I love watching him run. I kind of wish that Eli Manning ran this much because it would just be so much damn funnier if it was Eli versus Daniel Jr. Since they basically are the same person, but they're just the offense leaves so much room for error. Like Daniel Jones was playing out of his ass to get a 41.6 QB rating. Quite frankly, they can't hold it off. Yes, they shocked the Titans, but that was because they went for it on 2-point conversion. They would have got their shit rocked in overtime. I'm absolutely confident of that. They took their shot where they had it. Against the Panthers, they won by 3, but Baker Mayfield, we don't even have to go into that game except for I guess it's probably going to be my bonus pick later. He's running around like he is lost in that offense. I don't know what Matt Rule is doing. Even Christian McCaffrey's running around like he's lost because he's like, if you give me the ball 25 times a game, I should have 250 yards. There is just no cohesion to that offense, and they still were within 3 points of the New York Giants. So I think this is a dumpster fire. Everyone knew they were frauds. I was actually pulling for them because would have had the Eagles at 3-0, the Giants at 3-0, and the Dolphins at 3-0. And who would have guessed that was the undefeated ranks going into week 3? This is already the fewest undefeated teams you've had in week 3 in over a decade.
Damn. So in the year that we thought there would be zero parity, there's arguably the most parity in a long time.
Bills go
That's
down,
crazy.
Chiefs go down. It's been
Chargers
yeah,
went down.
yeah. Chargers went down twice.
Oh, dude. I mean, let's just talk about them really quick. Like, they're falling like flies. It's Chargers 101. Like, we're back to square one of the Chargers find way to charge,
I was
even
gonna
if
say, yeah,
it's
I'll turn this over to you because I did not believe that the Chargers would continue to charge like they have. I thought at some point they have to turn over the injury bug, but I mean, you could rattle off a Dead Sea Scrolls worth of names on their roster right now that are banged up. Is this the demise of them, or do they still have enough to hold out through the year?
I mean, if the Raiders weren't 0-3, if Denver wasn't limping into 2-1, and the Chiefs showing that they're kind of beatable, even though I think they kind of just gave that game. I think they gave that Colts game away a little bit. I think with the AFC West starting slow, it gives them hope. But I mean, I know every team gets injuries, but they're getting injuries at like every key position. The main one being quarterback, and I've cracked a rib, but I've never like done any cartilage damage. Like, I don't know if that's something that lingers for a long time, or is it just like a pain tolerance thing? So
There's less blood flow to cartilage than there is to bone, so it
yeah,
potentially will linger longer for Justin Herbert. I'm in agreement with the larger base that I hate the word pain tolerance because all of these guys are playing through pain, and it doesn't make them a bitch for saying, "Damn, this hurts when I move."
right.
Because guess what? I hurt when I move out of bed in the morning, and haven't done a fucking single thing the day before.
Yeah,
So I'm worried for the Chargers and that they lost Rashawn Slater. That is
yeah,
just like Trent Williams, a huge blow to them. And if they can't keep Justin Herbert upright like they've been able to the last season where he was a Pro Bowl tackle, then it's going to be tough for them. I was more
yeah.
surprised on anything though by the defense. I know they also had some injuries. They also had some people not starting, but the Jags put up 38 on the Chargers.
Yeah,
They hadn't
they made Trevor
won.
Lawrence look like a dude.
They hadn't won an away game since 2019. This was nine
I mean,
straight road losses, and then they pull out a 28-point victory against the Chargers.
man,
What
that's on
gives?
brand. That's
Yeah,
Chargers brand. You're like, oh, you have a record that you guys are trying to break. Yeah, we can help you guys out with that. I
yeah.
mean, I know the injuries are scary for the Chargers. You got Keenan Allen, who can already not stay on the field. Like, his weapons aren't healthy. Mike Williams is always a ticking time bomb. I swear his like limbs are like too long for his body. That like just makes him like injury prone. Uh,
Guyton tore
but
his ACL.
yeah, like they're dropping like flies. I hate seeing injuries, and so hopefully they can find a way to get through it. And as long as Herbert is dishing out the ball, you always have a chance. But if he's one hit away from making that injury worse, that's very concerning. And if everyone's dropping like flies, like, what's to say, hey, we should like chill out a few weeks? But with that speculation, the Jaguars, are they for real this year? Are they going to be like the team that plays everyone close, or is this just changing the culture? Urban Meyer, like, you couldn't get any worse than Urban Meyer, so this is like, holy shit, they're amazing, or are they legit?
I want to believe they're legit. I don't think the Colts know who they are. Maybe they figured that out this week. I still think they had a lot of luck to figure out who they were this week.
Oh yeah,
And I'd like to think that with the Jags having a fourth place schedule, that they had something that could keep them competitive. But they still play the Colts again, the Titans twice. They're playing the AFC West, and that's where I think that it's gonna come back to bite them. That they got Broncos, Raiders, Chiefs. Obviously, they beat the Chargers, but Ravens on their schedule. There's just not a lot of easy victories to get home here. Yeah, I guess you got the Jets, Texans are in your division. They do play the Lions. We know the Lions are feisty. I don't think that
yeah,
they can do enough to get past the Colts and the Titans though. At this point, it's just there's too much talent on the Colts, and Derrick Henry for the Titans just keeps me enthralled enough that
yeah.
I think that they're going to be able to make some noise. I'm not sure that I consider them a playoff team, but I would definitely put it Colts, Titans, Jags if I was going to rank the end of season division rankings at this point.
Okay.
Great victory for them, but these are also kind of victories that can go two ways to me. It either goes to your head and says, "Hey, we're there," and you find out you're not against the Eagles the next week, or it's one of those where it just continues to motivate you and you continue to feed off of. And I think that they're too young. I believe in Doug Peterson that he can potentially get them there. He kind of did it with the Eagles squad when he took them to the Super Bowl, right? Like he's like, "Hey, Nick Foles is our dude," right?
Yeah,
well, he is now because he's our only dude we got. But I don't think that they're quite there yet. They're not going to be disciplined enough to take off this year, but I would be scared if I was the Colts or the Titans for 2-3 years from now, because they're on their downswing and the Jags are clearly on their upswing.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think they go over 500? Like, or you think of 500 to them is like a damn good season?
I think that
especially with the schedule.
I think they'll fall just below 500.
Okay.
Just because of the thinking about it from a wins improvement standpoint, I don't see them going and winning all of a sudden 7 more games than they were expected to. But they're going to be feisty. They're going to be fun. Trevor Lawrence, great for him. He's the one that needs the motivation more than anything, right? After just
100%.
getting I'm impressed that he didn't just fall into a shell of himself after what he was dealt with for the first 13 games last year, with Urban Meyer potentially rubbing up against him in the huddle. I don't know what happened there, kicking him on the sideline. Well, I mean, if Urban Meyer came up to Trevor Lawrence from behind, would you know that it was the blonde at the bar or Trevor Lawrence? You probably wouldn't, right?
He's like, "Damn, she's beautiful."
Who's a 6'4" just goddess,
right? He's like, "Damn, I haven't seen a blonde this beautiful since college," and he's just like, "What the fuck?"
He's still in college, basically. But no, I'm excited. Right? I'm excited for the Jags. I really am.
Me too.
I just don't think that this is going to be quite their year, and it's probably better that it's not quite their year. I mean, you saw the Bengals go from nothing to amazing to back to maybe not that great again, and that's kind of what happens if you peak too early.
Okay, I agree. I'm excited. I'm mostly happy for Trevor Lawrence. I was similar to you, so worried about his development because of Urban, but I'm glad it worked everything out.
There is one more person I'm super pumped about, and you'll appreciate this one. It's James Robinson. How did Urban not turn him into anything last year if he's got ETN roaring down his neck, if not being the 1A in this relationship, and he's still just spitfire. He's just churning out yards. He's quite frankly unstoppable. One of the better backs in the league for, I believe, an undrafted or 7th round draft pick.
Undrafted,
It's been impressive what he's been able to do against all of this adversity, and that was with an Achilles tear too, right?
Yeah, so and he came back pretty quick, or like quicker than normal. Yeah, so he gets it done.
I'm excited for both of them. Even Evan Ingram at tight end, like career resurgence potentially. Christian Kirk is kind of living up to his contract. Like, that was surprising to me. But
Zay Jones was holding it down.
I was not expecting to spend this much time on the Jags, but maybe we need to start putting them into our segments a little bit more, because what they did to the Chargers deserved time, quite frankly. Like, it makes
was a domination.
Talk more about the Jags and the Chargers after this week for sure.
Absolutely. We're going to keep it in the AFC South with the Colts upsetting the Chiefs. This was your bonus pick, and I guess is your takeaway.
Stand by that I won. But yeah, what was my takeaway?
More like, is this more of a big win for the Colts or a bad loss for the Chiefs? I mean, it can be both, but
I mean, it's a huge win for the Colts because they have
they would have been fucked.
The best equilibrium record that they could, 1-1-1. They needed this victory, but it doesn't mean that much to either team. There's actually quite a few games. This was a super exciting week of football to me, with games that didn't actually probably mean as much as they did. We'll assuredly talk about the Bills Dolphins, but do I think that the Dolphins are the better team now than the Bills? Fuck no. Do I
No.
think that the Colts are a better team than the Chiefs? Fuck no. The Colts got a muff punt inside their 5 that they were able to punch in for a touchdown. They had a missed field goal for the Chiefs. They had a completely asinine failed fake field goal attempt. There were just miscues all around for the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are normally a team that has enough firepower to overcome those mistakes,
Hmm.
and they didn't this time. I am happy that Patrick Mahomes' interception luck finally caught up with him, so that I can like at least point to fucking something. Like, guys, this is what I've been talking about.
Right.
He
You're like,
throws
thank you.
interceptions. But the Chiefs were out of sorts. But the Colts did nothing to me to show that they're back by any means. It was nice to have Michael Pittman back. That's a decent relationship, but Jonathan Taylor's nowhere near what he was last year and what they need him to
No.
be competitive long term. The defense isn't quite there to me still. I know
Yeah.
I think they're still missing Darius Leonard, right? So that makes it harder. It'll be interesting to see what happens when he comes back. But the Chiefs defense isn't shabby by any means. I mean, if you give up a free touchdown within your own 5, that's not going against the defense in my book. So hold the
Yeah.
Colts to 13 points. It really was a meaningless game to me and everything except for your record says what your record is. But again, I always caveat that with that's at the end of the fucking season. Like 0-3, 3-0 doesn't mean shit. You can talk to the 2021 Cardinals about that.
Yeah. No shit. God. Yeah. Which actually, that you saying that I had a shower thought about that same thing. Do you think now that teams aren't playing much preseason, or like the teams that kind of have their identity set, teams that have those superstar players at superstar positions, since they're not running as much preseason, are we going to find that it's way more common for quote unquote like shittier teams to have hotter starts because they're playing all their starters in preseason minutes and getting kind of ramped up for September?
Yeah, I think it's entirely plausible, especially when I mean we talked about that with Jimmy G earlier, right? Not a single
Yeah.
damn rep, and they looked out of sorts. The number of times he threw behind Debo and Ayuk was just
Rough.
flabbergasting because
It
like
was rough.
I I could miss a receiver by 2.5 yards behind them, just fine. And the Chiefs did play their starters a little bit in preseason, but I think that there's a feeling out period. I think that always want to tie it back to Bill Belichick credit where I can, that they've kind of proven out over the last 20 years that maybe September's not all. It's not as important to get the W in September as it is to
Mhm.
figure out how you're going to get the W in January, and that strategy has proven well for them. They also had the greatest quarterback of all time at that point. But I think that it does play out in some regards here that you're willing to take a little bit more risk, try out a couple more things in September, realizing that hey, there's now even an extra game, right? We've got
That's true.
13
Yeah.
more games after September. Let's find out how we're going to win those games. Never want to lose, don't get me wrong, but and I don't think that that's like per se what the Chargers were doing by any means. They got their
No.
asses handed to them. But
Yeah.
close games like this, Chiefs Colts, where it could have been a coin flip either way, it doesn't surprise me that the inferior team is able to pull it out early in the season. I would be surprised if this went the same way if we were talking week 15, 16.
I agree. I definitely think it was a moral victory, a bigger moral victory for the Colts than a demoralizing loss for the Chiefs, especially with the Chiefs being the championship pedigree that they are. They're probably like, yeah, we fucked that up, but you know,
Yeah.
we got
I
another
mean,
matchup next week that we got to get after.
yeah. I'll then save it till we get to the Bills, but that loss is probably one of the more terrifying things that could have happened to the league, in my opinion.
Probably. Yeah. Well, so we got 2 more games left in week 3 that I think are worth mentioning. We're gonna kick it to. I mean, is there maybe 3 more games? We'll touch on the Packers Bucks just real quick. Similar vibe, early in the year versus end of the year, both being veteran quarterbacks. Any concern on either side of the coin here? If you're the Packers or the Bucks, whether you got a win or a loss today, or are you just worried about them in December?
Win loss, no. Am worried about the Bucks still not having a touchdown in the first half. I think that is
I
very
did not know
concerning
that was the thing. Oh man.
for them. I think that Rodgers he did a little bit. He had a connection with Romeo Dobbs, which was, I'm sure, great for him to feel out. But he still only put up 14 points, and all 14 points of those came in the first half. So I think that both of these teams are still very much learning, very much feeling out. Not concerned about either of them at this point because they have so much talent on the defensive side of the ball that I think that they can both hang in there. And then we've got the quarterbacks at the level that they play, that you'll be able to figure it out. It's kind of an antithesis, right? It's for Brady, it's once he gets his veteran receivers back, and then for Rodgers, it's once he trains his rookie receivers what the fuck to do. So I'm not concerned about either of these teams. You want a W each and every time. I love the parity, quite frankly, that they're both 2-1 at this point, which means that there's not a clear favorite between the two quote unquote goats already early in the year. And for Rodgers, it was a big victory because he doesn't have a great record against Brady. This gets him a little bit closer to saying, hey, I competed with the GOAT. And I just wish Rodgers wasn't such a dick. The Jumbotron comment, which had zero meaning whatsoever, wouldn't elaborate it at all, even on the Pat McAfee show today, as to what he was actually saying. He's just spewing shit out of his ass because I guess that's what I can't even think of his name right now. I want to say Tom Cruise, because Tom Cruise is in every fucking movie. Who's the face-off guy?
Oh, Nick Cage?
Nick Cage. There we go. Yeah. Nick Cage just wants it to be on him. Not a role he won't say no to. And I kind of feel like that's Aaron Rodgers at this point.
Yeah, I definitely think he enjoys being the villain, or at least like trolling the media or trolling fans and watching them get triggered over things that clearly he doesn't give a shit about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm similar with you about, I don't think either team's hitting the panic button really, especially in the divisions that they're in. It doesn't seem like there's much of a threat in the NFC North after the Vikings have shown what they've shown. I'm not too worried about the Bears. Lions are cover dogs, but are you really going to take the Lions over Aaron Rodgers? And then AFC or NFC South, like Saints look bad, Falcons are the Falcons, and the Panthers are the Panthers. Like, yeah, I'm not too worried about.
It's all about getting to the playoffs at that point, and one, if not both of these teams, is probably getting a top 4 seed, just because that's how seeding works out in the NFL. So I'm with you on that, and it's fucking fun. It really is. Like, the fact that we're talking about Brady or Rodgers potentially not being elite at this point because it was a 12-14 game is just fucking fun. I'm sorry.
Right.
It is.
And it's week 3, so there's so much more speculation being like injuries could heal, shit could get worse, shit could get better, coaches could suck more. Yeah, I mean, okay, so to stay on the trend of injuries, unfortunately.
What do you mean, fortunately? We got Brian Hoyer. You got the Brian Hoyer.
How many times has he been a Patriot? Is this his third stint?
It's at least his third stint. I quoted him as his 4th stint. I haven't done the research on that to confirm it, but it's at least his 3rd stint. That I am well aware of.
Hey, he must know how to tuck Bill in at night or make sure his coffee's the perfect temperature in the morning, because he's got job security with Bill Belichick and the Patriots.
All it is what I talked about before, is knowing when to be and where to be at each individual time. It looks like this is his 3rd stint with the Patriots, but he's an extension of the coaching staff, quite frankly. Like, if you watch Mac Jones throw his 3rd pick of the fucking day, he goes over and he talks to Brian Hoyer. He's not talking to Joe Judge. He's not talking to Matt Patricia. He's talking to Hoyer, and he's like, hey, did you see that? And he's like, yeah, I did that. And then I got cut by the Patriots and played for the Steelers, and I got cut by the Steelers, and I played for the Cardinals, and I got cut by the Cardinals, and I played for the Browns. 4 more, 5 more teams removed, and stop throwing fucking INTs, little piece of shit. Sorry, went off on a tangent there.
It's a safe space. Let it all out.
But yeah, so this is another fun thing as far as being a box score bitch on these games. Patriots were right there. Like, the -3 or the 3-point spread for the Ravens was within legitimate striking distance, if not for a late Nelson Aguilar fumble inside Ravens territory while they were down 5, similar to what happened in week 2 and week 4 last year. The Patriots just can't afford to not execute in those games. They don't have the firepower, even though they finally started to show a little bit of downfield movement in this last game. But is Lamar Jackson your MVP because he got that extra possession?
I mean, he's definitely making a strong case. I just still don't know about that defense and how I feel about. I thought their defense was going to be way better than what it's been. That Lamar's going to be up there for MVP, but I don't know if he's going to get it. Just to stay on the Patriots real quick, I also don't know what possession you're talking about because I may or may not have missed that game.
It was the second to last drive. Patriots with about 5 minutes left had the ball, hit a long crossing route to Nelson Aguilar, ran probably 10, 12 yards after the catch, and then got punched out from behind, and great play to recover the ball in bounds. Ravens took it right down and put another touchdown Lamar Jackson run on the board. And then Mac Jones got hurt trying in garbage time, essentially at that point, trying to heave ho. Oh, shoot. Did he have 4 interceptions then? I think he had 4 interceptions. Damn, that was a bad game. To win it, and Calais Campbell came down right on his ankle. And quite frankly, when we talk about tackles that should be taken out of the game, that was one of them. I don't know how you could control it because it's a big dude going after another big dude, but pulling him down underneath your own legs was always dangerous. And Mac Jones got rolled up, and I'm sure he's gone for at least 8 weeks. In my opinion, get the surgery, get him right. If you want anything to do with your future, this season's probably not there. So just make sure you get him back.
So is the expectation, you being a Patriots fan, just, hey, let's get a good draft pick, or do you think there's enough question marks across?
Still, I mean, honestly, the defense bottled up Lamar very well for a majority of the game. It wasn't until the very end there were a couple misses, couple big plays, which is what any sports fan would say, right? It's like, oh, we were right there. But this defense is still a championship caliber defense in my mind, and I think that they've proven that by holding Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill to 0 touchdowns outside of a 4th down conversion at the end of the half. They played well last week against the Steelers. Granted, that was Mitch Trubisky, but they were in the position to win the game. And I don't know that Brian Hoyer's honestly that much of a downgrade from Mac Jones because they play very similar styles. Granted, I haven't seen the damn 36-year-old play in quite some time, so I don't know what his arm strength is, what everything else, where he stands. But Mac Jones wasn't overly impressive with being able to push the ball downfield or anything. So they've got a game manager, and that's what they're doing. I mean, shit, Bill Belichick turned Matt Castle into a Pro Bowl quarterback from absolutely nothing. So I'm not holding out for a draft pick at all at this point if I'm the Patriots. I think that's going to be tough to make it to the playoffs, but they're going to compete. Bill's too prideful to not compete.
I like it. I mean, shit, especially with Hoyer being basically a Tom Brady, clone. Mm-hmm. Maybe they can mix up some of that old magic.
Just get him a supermodel wife, and maybe that's all he needs.
Right, fixes everything. I mean, that might be the cure to everything, to men's success, supermodel wives. Speaking of MVP talks, what was the preseason unanimous MVP odds guy pick was Josh Allen, and Vegas, while I don't think it's fully flipped, Tua Tagovailoa is up there as an MVP candidate. In what was probably the most shocking game of week 3, the Bills getting upset by the Dolphins in Miami, where the strippers were at the tailgates and rocking Bills fans' world. Tua shocks the Bills. And how do you feel about the Miami Dolphins being 3-0 and leading that division?
I'll go back to, anytime you bring strippers into this podcast, good job. But I'll go back to Vegas must be enjoying all the Miami fans throwing away their money on Tua as an MVP candidate. He's got 8 TDs and 2 interceptions on the year, and 6 TDs came in one fucking game. So let's just slow our roll right here. If anything, he was not the cause of them winning against the Bills. The storyline that everyone's talking about at this point was, why was he even in the fucking game? I have back problems. Lots of people have back problems. Never once have I lost my balance with multiple steps due to back problems. I've definitely had impinged nerves, done things where I will just straight collapse. But that
or like
dude,
lock you up or something. Yeah.
the dude, he described his back as feeling like Gumby. It's like, you only feel like Gumby if there is a issue with your brain transmitting neuromuscular function to the lower half of your body. That's not something where, oh, my back hurts and goddamn does it feel loose. I could fucking swing free right now. Like, it just, everything about it just reeked of what does player safety, quite frankly, mean. I never want to see anybody get injured, but I was also saying, okay, sweet, this is going to cover this week because Tua's out. There was a small part of me that was like, okay, maybe Teddy can come in and just absolutely crush it and prove it out that Tua's, a 6 TD fluke. But the fact that he was back in that game was absolutely asinine. Take your money, Vegas, if anybody wants to put MVP money on him. This is another game where it doesn't mean that much to me. If the Bills had, not even, sorry, I almost said the Bills had 400 yards of offense. No, Josh Allen himself had 400 yards passing and then 46 more yards rushing. So 40 minutes of possession. Like, the Dolphins did not deserve to win this game in any way whatsoever. There was a bunch of miscues, and I said it earlier, I would be terrified if I was the rest of the AFC that this is the one that gets the undefeated monkey off their back, because we know that that's something that teams hold over themselves when they're sitting at 7-0, 8-0, and it's just like, okay, I'm a little nervous right now. Are we going to be able to do it? Now they don't have that anymore. Now they've got a vengeful thing against a division rival within the conference that they need to overcome now to say, just to win their division, right? So they essentially need to win 2 more games than Miami at this point, and then seeing what the other Miami matchup does, maybe even more, so that they can win out the division outright. And I would be absolutely terrified. One thing that was concerning to me, though, Josh Allen was thrown off his back foot quite a bit, and I hadn't seen
there were
that
a couple
since the first and second year that he played. Hopefully they correct that for Josh Allen's sake right now, because he's got a tremendous arm. He has the strength for it, but that's not how you execute, and that's how they failed on that 4th down, short out, right? Is that where
he spiked it.
Yeah. No. At the end of the game, when he basically was thrown off his back foot and threw it 4 yards short to the end zone, that basically lost them the game. The
game that was one where they gave like a bounce pass, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect accuracy. Just 5 yards short of the receiver. Yeah. So, we've got a lot of takeaways from this game, but I'll turn it over to you, see if there's anything that you want to pick on.
I do think I agree that this loss definitely helped. It's a perfect time for the Bills to have this loss, kind of a little wake-up call, especially first 2 weeks felt and looked so easy for them, that I do think those throws off the back foot were probably Josh getting a little too comfortable. And so I agree that this is a perfect game for them to be like, hey, dude, like, we're really fucking good, but if you keep throwing off your back foot, like, you have film now to be like, this is what's going to fucking happen. Like, you're really good, but you're not a god. You're not untouchable. Like, you still have to do the fundamentals, do the right things, make the right plays. I thought they would get Gabriel Davis more involved than they did, but he's coming off an injury, which it's always concerning when someone gets an injury in practice. I feel like those tend to linger more than some of the game injuries, because those tend to be a little less like contact injuries. I definitely don't to be honest, I changed the channel when Tua was wobbly, because I was like, oh, this game's over. So I put on different games, and when I saw him back in the game, I like flipped over thinking it was a replay. And they ended up bringing in like a third party, right, to investigate.
Well, there's always
them doing it.
Unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant at every game. But the protocol, which was followed per the NFL, is a little bit ambiguous as to how they determine whether or not it is a neurological issue with them, basically a gross instability. Is it a neurological cause or is it some other fundamental cause? And from what it sounds like is if you tell them your back hurts, which is what my dad told me to do when I was in second grade. If I ever got in a car accident, just tell them your back hurts because nobody can fucking prove it.
Yeah.
That they say, okay, yep, this could be caused by a back injury instead. But there's no Monday morning quarterback, Monday morning unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant watching that play that says that, hey, he didn't get his shit rocked. And not saying that you can't come back and be recovered from that. The whole point is that you're not supposed to compound these concussions, right? We're talking about a traumatic brain injury, swelling of the brain. If it's enough to get you to where you can't function for even a minute after the injury, then you're at so much more risk of it injuring you long term than if you just say, hey, we're out. But hey, money's money. It made a fucking storyline. The NFL probably couldn't be happier right now with a Dolphins win and something that keeps it in the news for 1 to 2 weeks while they're doing an independent investigation from the NFLPA to see whether or not everything was up to snuff.
Dude, the fact that Goodell's made everything third party, any drama related, he's just like, oh no, that's a third party thing now. We're going to listen to what the third party does. That way it just like removes them of all guilt or all bad publicity while also still having that publicity. Yeah. Keep them relevant.
I tried that. I tried that in my marriage. It did not work out. So good for you, Goodell. But I would not recommend it for the everyday encounter saying, that's third party's decision.
Well, before we hop in to the primetime picks, any other takeaways from that game or any other game from week 3?
We have to hit on the Cardinals and Kyler Murray sucking again. But considering the Cardinals are going to be my bonus pick, I think we can go ahead and move on to the primetime games for, I guess it's the Dolphins again. Is Tua going to be ready? His back hurts.
I mean, we know Tyreek's ready. In a post-game interview, he was asked if he's looking forward to the game. And I do love how pro athletes like really are so like in the moment where like most of the time they're like, who do we play next week? And they're like, you play the Bengals. And he was like, oh, he's like, Eli Apple, I owe you one. And so Tyreek's ready. I don't know what that was all about. I'm sure it was Eli Apple chirping him from stuffing him in the first half of the AFC Championship game. But Tyreek is motivated. But as motivated as Tyreek is, the Dolphins are going into Cincinnati as underdogs. The Bengals are getting 4 points. Who you liking here?
I don't know how Miami is a 4-point underdog with what that defense was able to do with Josh Allen and what the Bengals line hasn't been able to do for Joe Burrow. I get it's a short week. Maybe Tua is actually limited by an ankle injury because it's definitely not his back. I just haven't seen enough from the Bengals. I don't feel good about this one. Don't get me wrong. I think the Bengals are, quite frankly, a better team than the Dolphins if we were to compare them Eli Apples to Eli Apples based on where the team is right now. But to give me the points with the Dolphins. They're just too explosive. They probably win this one outright, even on a short week. I don't understand the spread, quite frankly, which is the number one jinx, so better go against it.
Yeah, I actually am going to take the Bengals at -4. Not really going analytical here. I'm just going with who do I think has more primetime moxie or primetime just it factor. And as much as Joe Burrow is going to get harassed, I will take Joe Burrow in primetime over Tua in primetime. And half of the motivation is just to watch. Like, I'm becoming more of a Tua believer, but nothing would make me happier to not watch him fail. I don't want to root for failure, but I think it just would add to this narrative of like, is he the guy? And if it just creates a circle of like 3 amazing games, or maybe 1 amazing game with 2 average games that you just group together because he didn't suck, and then just have like a few bad games and just go back and forth. I think it'd be great, a great narrative and great content. So yeah, I like the Bengals to have this game be a little closer than probably what it should be. But I mean, as bad as the O-line is, that Chase and Burrow connection and that Burrow and T. Higgins connection is good. It's strong, and I think it'll be
I think it's
enough.
stronger than the Waddle and Hill connection. I truly do. I when I said comparing these two teams, I would take the Bengals. FPI has the Bengals at a 75% chance to win. I just don't think that O line right now can handle what the Dolphins D line was able to do to the Bills. Like if you're able to stifle Josh Allen and that offense that had punted 0 times in 4 of their last 6 or 7 games, or sorry, hadn't punted in 4 of their last 7 games. What they were able to do confound him just makes me think that they can keep it close enough. Dolphins are 3-0 against the spread. Bengals are 1-2 against the spread. I'm gonna take the points here.
I like it. We're going off the cuff, but I'm going off the cuff with this. Just totally roll with it here. Let's make our own little personal side bet. Since John's not here and we don't have his primetime picks, do you want to guess what his picks are and see if we can guess who he thinks he's going to go with?
All right. Burrow on 3. 1, 2, 3. Burrow. Are
Burrow.
You kidding me?
Yeah.
He's sucking that D anytime he's got an opportunity to. So all right, we're
taking
making
Joe Shiesty.
We're making your picks for you, John.
There you go. Yeah, you're in Spain. You got enough to worry about with the London game. That, yeah. Speaking of the London game, so we got John taking the Bengals. Sorry, John, if you were taking the Dolphins, but you hate Tua, so we're pretty safe on this one. Going to our first international game of the year. John is over there covering the game, so maybe we'll get like a phone booth interview with maybe Kirk Cousins on that Sunday morning. We'll see if we can get something happen.
Prefer it to be Jameis Winston. Much better interview.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, talk about two just polar opposites. You've got a guy that only works in a system that's structured well, and then you have another guy who you can feed him any system you want, but he'll run his system. He is systemless. The Vikings are -2.5 in London. Saints are considered the home team. I don't think that really matters in an away game in Europe, but who do you have? Vikings -2.5 at the Saints.
I hate this game because I can't decide whether or not this is prime time. Because technically in London, it's prime time. And everywhere else in the greater world, it's a throwaway game that people are probably still either in church or not even fucking awake for the kickoff.
Right, 6:30 a.m. Pacific start.
Yeah. This one's tough to me because of the injury news. And I don't know if we've got Thomas, Landry, Traquan Smith also got injured for the Saints. Will Dalvin Cook be able to play with his separated shoulder? I think that defense for the Saints is it's gnarly. So I struggle to go against the Saints here. So give me the Vikings at -2.5.
Throw me a curveball there. Okay. I keep struggling with this one because I keep seeing the Vikings winning by a field goal against the Saints team that lost to the Carolina Panthers, where Baker Mayfield has the worst QBR of starting quarterbacks. Makes me nervous.
They beat the Falcons, though, by 1.
True, and the Falcons are also not great. They figured out how to run Cordero Patterson after 8 years of teams not being able to do it, but they can't figure out Kyle Pitts, who's a freak of nature. I'm just going to lean into the fact that this is Kirk Cousins is going to tell himself this isn't a primetime game, but I think it's going to confuse him when he starts hearing all these accents, and he's just like, oh, man, this is like primetime on a whole new level. That, yeah, he's just going to be so confused. Yeah,
Maybe
he's like,
these aren't double negative prime.
Oh, so it's going to like cancel it out.
Yeah.
See, I just figure he's like, these don't sound like Christian Midwest folk that my life is threatened. And yeah, I'm taking the Saints here.
That's a great point because it's not necessarily about the timing of the day to me for Kirk Cousins as much as it is for probably most players because like your routine's different, right? If you've got a 1 p.m. game, you understand what that is, and if you got to sit around for an extra 4 to 6 hours before you're able to jump in, it's throws a little bit of a wrench in there. Hadn't considered that primetime is really just the spotlight on you, and it doesn't matter what time it is. It's that there's no competing games at that point in time, and the viewership is going to be through the roof because now you're throwing in an international audience that you never have during normal primetime games. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
wasn't feeling good about this one regardless, but I am still going to take the Vikings. I think
Still
that
doubling down.
they need to get Justin Jefferson back in the game. He's too talented of a receiver for him to go basically silent night for 2 of the 3 weeks that he's had. Get him some notoriety in London. Show him who he is, and have some fucking fun. So I still do think the Vikings are the better team at this point. I can't trust the Saints. Give me Vikings with a Joseph field goal to win it.
I like it. If we had to guess John, I feel like he would lean Vikings, but he
I
also
think
hates
he'd
Kirk
go.
Cousins. You think he'd
Yeah,
go
he'd
Saints?
go Saints. He's going Saints.
All right. So John's got the
Are you
Bengals
in
and
charge of the
Saints.
graphic this year or this week? Because you could totally
Uh,
put a ghost or like skull and crossbones over his picture and just say, "Hey, this is what he picked."
yeah, I can screenshot his graphic, and yeah, we'll throw something on. It'll be true chaos. The boss is out. We're having fun with it. He might not even see it. Who knows? Uh,
Is
go ahead.
is Twitter even in Europe? No, I'm kidding.
Europe Twitter, if you want quick tangent, British Twitter is wild. Completely different world. Like you want to learn like some random culture shit or just be like
They're
it's
throwing
it's
U's
a whole
in
different world.
everywhere.
Governor. Hello, Governor. The Queen. The Queen.
Well,
I wonder if he is going to go see the Queen.
R.I.P. in peace. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Rest in peace to the Queen.
God
Whatever.
save the king. Did they change the song? We're just being culturally insensitive right now. Let's get back to football.
Probably that's just proof that we like live it. We're too much invested in the internet because I've just seen both sides of like mourning and then just like memeing of the entire like Queen and King situation. That yeah, too entrenched in the internet to be taking anything seriously. Um, this is probably a game people are going to take seriously though. The Sunday night game, Chiefs -2 in Tampa against Tampa Tom.
Is it in
Who you
Tampa?
got?
That's my biggest question mark right now. Is the Chiefs know that they got to get on a plane and they got to go somewhere. The Bucks don't know if they're driving to the game or they're flying to the game. Whether it's in
That's a great point.
Miami, Jacksonville, New Orleans, which would be absolutely dreadful for the Bucks. Minnesota's been thrown out as another potentially neutral site. I liked the caveat of potentially Foxborough since the Patriots are away. Like that's the closest home game that Brady could probably
Oh
get
my
at
God.
this point.
That would
So
be
that would
pretty
just
cool.
that would just be fun. With the challenges that this Bucks offense has gone through, I have no idea why this game is considered as close as it is. The Chiefs usually have been hedged in Vegas as far as I think that their spreads have been ridiculously favored to say, hey, people believe in the Chiefs. Let's just see how fucking far they'll take this at only -2, even though the Bucks on paper probably should win this game. I'm taking the Chiefs even at -2. They're going to be coming off a loss that they are not happy about. The Bucks also are coming off a loss that they're not happy about. But the difference is Kansas City has the playmakers to change that, and the Bucks don't right now.
Yep. I agree. I like the Chiefs -2 as well. I think they also have the added motivation of trying to come back and beat Tampa from the reunion. Is this the first game since the Super Bowl? I don't think it is the reunion.
No,
But
it's not. Pretty sure the Bucks took the Chiefs down twice in a row at this point.
okay. I do think Mahomes has that competitive side that he wants to do well against Tom. Um, weather side, hope everyone's safe in Florida with the hurricane. Hope everything goes as smooth as possible. Natural disasters are always a pain in the ass. I think regardless of where this game's played, the Chiefs get it done. And this is going to sound dumb, but the reason why I think it's the Chiefs is I just think there's too much trouble in paradise with Tom going on off the field that it's just he's a creature of habit. He's someone that's been used to having structure, used to having kind of things very put in place, everything having a role. And apparently they haven't been living together for a month. And that I feel like Tom being a creature of habit, that kind of stuff is probably throwing a wrench in things more than more than probably people want to admit. And so, yeah, I think the Bucs are going to struggle a little longer until one, their weapons get back, and then two, until I think Tom can kind of get settled in. Which is funny to say that being a his 22nd year in the league, and we're talking about Tom getting settled in. But
Maybe
yeah,
you
I like
can
the Chiefs at
invite
-2.
maybe you can invite Jackson Mahomes to hang out with him, do some social media promotions or something. That'll just fix it all around. We were actually incorrect. The Chiefs have not played the Bucs since the Super Bowl loss, 9 to
So this is
31.
reunion.
So this is the redemption game potentially for the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs are probably about as good as they were that year. The Bucs, to me, are significantly worse than they were that year. So I think us both being on the Chiefs, I also think that our main man, the boss, would be on the Chiefs. What do you think?
Oh yeah, he's since preseason week 1, he's been Chiefs are going to win the AFC. So yeah, I'm sure he's going to be taking the Chiefs for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and happy at that number too, -2. You're not going to get the Chiefs at much less than that for.
Was that me? Uh-oh. Technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Bear any technical difficulties. We are going to try and get him back here. But we do have John, Toaster, and intern Jrob on the Chiefs -2. And honestly, I'll probably segue into the next one until we get him back. The Monday night game, we have the Rams at the 49ers. What's the surprising one here is even with the loss to Denver, the loss of Trey Lance, the loss to the Bears, and the many question marks that the Niners have, they are -2.5 favorites against the Rams at home. To be honest, I was a little surprised at this line with all those question marks, with Jimmy G looking very questionable. The injuries are racking up again for the Niners. Trent Williams is gone. Jimmy G's looking like old Jimmy G. And the Rams came off a butt whipping against the Cardinals. I think for me personally, I'm loving the Rams at +2.5. I think they're kind of getting a little bit disrespected. I think the Niners defense is very good. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that the Rams are getting underdog, they're getting +2.5 against a team that's shown zero ability to move the football. I like the Rams here at +2.5. I'm sure Toaster is going to feel similarly, though hopefully we can get them in here. But if I had to guess, if I'm a betting man, I'm saying, one moment. Hey, what's up? Mine's still, yeah, the stream's still running. Did I like freeze on you? Call failed. What is happening? Hey. No, it said call failed. I don't know what happened. You got EMP'd. Yeah, because I can I can basically wrap up that line because I basically mentioned the injuries and all that stuff. But if you want, I can just say who your pick was and then wrap it up at the primetime picks.
Yeah, that works for me. I'm going LA, and then if we don't have to do the Minnesota pick, then maybe you can just tease the Cards or Dogs to the Panthers and end it at that.
Perfect.
We can decide what we want to do there, but yeah, I don't know. This is weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Is your internet working now, at least?
Yeah, mine never stopped. Like you were like mid-sentence and then it just like your screen froze and then I like opened up a browser on my end just like and went to like ESPN and it loaded up fine. So yeah.
My computer and my personal computer both crashed out, but they said that the internet is still working just fine.
That's so weird that
I can't get on anything. Like I said, as soon as that happened,
everything went.
microphone started fucking going crazy, and then so
That's weird.
Still looking for shit at an hour and 6 minutes. So probably a better cliffhanger than it is you asked for, right?
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that works.
I'll get you a write-up for tomorrow if that works for you.
Yeah. Yeah, no rush on it.
Yeah, I'll do it early tomorrow. Get that over to you. And then, yeah, I'm good with that.
Perfect.
As long as you are sorry.
Oh no. It makes for
Bachelor.
right. And she just Bachelor's like, we need all the internet. Yeah. Because everyone needs to know who gets the last rose. Bachelor life forever. There we go. Flex on them. Perfect. So you got the Rams and then Cardinals for your bonus. Okay.
I'm so confused why that would be hit. Like off the record here. Do you have any idea why the Cardinals would be not favored?
Especially against the Panthers, no. And there's no like ghost Kyler injury or something that like they're not reporting. The Call of Duty beta is done, so that's not a thing until the end of October. So there was like a multiplayer beta this weekend, yeah. So it's and obviously that meme was like not accurate because it was like 2-67 or something. Yeah, way too many games. But oh yeah, you best believe every time the Cardinals lose, I'm gonna fucking post that shit.
All right, well, everything's dark. I think the lights here. Oh, she's perfect.
You're like, I really gotta go. All right, sounds good, dude. Love you, bro. Absolutely. Later. All right, so this is gonna be pretty funny. Toaster ended up getting what we can only call an EMP at his house. That's probably not actually the case. I don't want anyone thinking that he got like swatted or DDoS or anything. But he said his feed went out, he froze, he called me, and both his computers couldn't connect, but then his microphone was making a weird noise. Like it was more than just an internet issue, which makes it weird. But I was able to get the excuse me, but I was able to get the picks in. Excuse me. I was able, but I was able to get the picks in from Toaster, and he is also on the Rams at +2.5. And I can't imagine that John would not feel the same way with the Niners getting, or with the Rams getting plus points against the Niners with so many question marks around the 49ers right now. If we don't decide, we're just going to do an extra bonus pick. The Vikings-Saints game, it's technically not a primetime game, though it is a London game, which is like an international game, which you could say is even bigger than primetime. It's international time. But Toaster wanted to bring in for his bonus pick the Cardinals. This is a shocker. The Cardinals getting +1.5 at the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers have gotten a couple wins, but they eked out a win against the Saints. But the biggest takeaway here is that the Cardinals are getting points when they've kind of been the better team if on paper against the Panthers. I think Vegas knows something here that we must not know, that the Cardinals are getting plus points, but there's no injury report that's standing out as to why the Cardinals would be getting plus points. And so Toaster is taking Cardinals at +1.5. Basically, I mean, it's damn near close to just saying the Cardinals are going to win straight up. But Cardinals getting +1.5. That is Toaster's bonus pick. And my bonus pick is the Broncos, another kind of surprise team here, getting +2.5 at the Raiders. I know the Broncos offense has been less than stellar and very much left to be desired. Melvin Gordon's been having fumbling issues, and Nathaniel Hackett has not been playing Javonte Williams as much as he probably should. But with the Broncos going into the Raiders, who are 0-3, I think that's the biggest shocker of the season so far. A lot of offensive firepower, but their defense cannot stop anyone to save their life. And to be honest, I thought Derek Carr was going to take another step up, getting Devontae Adams to add to the arsenal that is Hunter Renfrow and also Darren Waller. But he's kind of been okay. He hasn't been great with Devontae Adams being added to the picture. The offensive line has looked less than stellar. Their running game has been average at best, and their defense seemingly can't stay out of their own way. So even with all of the issues with Denver on the offensive side, their defense is very good. Their defense is going to keep them in games, and this is not going to be a sexy game, but I do think the Broncos will win this game by a field goal or something within a field goal. And so the fact that they're getting 2.5 points, I love the Broncos at +2.5 at the Raiders. And since John loves to stick on the Bears games, he's been covering those throughout the entire season so far. So I'm going to assume that that is going to be his bonus pick. Based on the performance the Giants put out, so it's Bears at Giants. The Bears are getting +3.5, Giants -3.5. With the performance of the Giants on Monday Night Football was showing that they lost to a Cooper Rush-led Dallas team, and the game didn't really feel close at all. I think the Bears, with how they've been playing everyone tough this year, and they're 2-1. Say what you want, their offense isn't sexy. Justin Fields has 23 pass attempts in 3 weeks, which is insane, but also so on brand for being a Bears. I mean, it's just the Bears. The Bears play good defense and run the ball, and they muddy up the game, and it's a close game at the end. And if it's a close game at the end, the Bears are probably winning that game. And so I am going to assume that John is going to take the Bears at +3.5 at New York. New York's coming off a short week, looking like their New York selves with a very bad O-line. I think the Bears will be able to keep that game close. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears win that game. So with the bonus picks, we got Toaster on the Cardinals. I'm on the Broncos, and John is on the Bears. For the prime time picks, I'm on the Bengals. Toaster is on the Dolphins, and John is going to be on the Bengals. The London game, I'm on the Saints, and John is on the Saints. Toaster is on the Vikings. Everyone's on the Chiefs. Everyone's on the Rams. And then you just heard our bonus picks. So apologize for the technical difficulties. What turned into a 3-man show that was then a 2-man show is now ending with a 1-man show. So we are here to kind of call audible. Every quarterback calls audibles, and it looks like the intern is now having to call audibles. And yeah, we're gonna leave it at that. I'd say let us know in the comments, but we're not on YouTube. We are on YouTube, but we're not on YouTube. Yeah, those are gonna be our picks. We're gonna get our graphics up, and this episode will definitely go live before Thursday. Thank you so much again for watching. Go ahead and follow us at NPTFBall on Twitter for all the latest updates on the games, as well as news regarding any injuries and things we like to talk about throughout the week. Thanks again, guys. I love you guys. Thank you to everyone that's listening. And shout out to John in Spain and Toaster with technical difficulties. This is Josh Robinson. I don't know why I gave my full name. This is Indifferent Jrob, Intern Jrob. I'm rambling. I love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
stomach or belly button just opens up and takes that shit in. Fucking hungry hippos in there.